My name is Scott Krauser, Assistant Superintendent. I think we timed it well between some thunder I heard a little while ago and maybe some sunshine, so thanks for joining us. This evening, just a couple other players that we have. We have Mr. Henry in the back. Dr. Thon Ketterman's here joining us, and I'm going to let Alan Moose and Eric Benson will introduce themselves in a moment, but we first wanted to say thanks so much for coming this evening and investigating this opportunity. And really our hope tonight is this isn't a formalized presentation, it is to make it personal. It's to get to the conversation level, to find out what we can do, what options are available. I think as a school, the York Suburban School District has seen great success for students have had choice and opportunities through cyber programming, and there's also great choice and opportunities through Suburban as well. And we've always been looking for a way to marry the two of them, and now that we've got a relationship with Lincoln IU, I think we found that perfect relationship to do that. So our plan for this evening is to be very informal, share some information, really answer questions, and be as personal with what you need and how we can help to make this cater to the needs and questions you might have. Okay? So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Eric and Alan.
Good evening, how are you? My name is Alan Moose. I am the former supervisor of online learning with the Lincoln Intermediate Unit. I retired on June 30th after 13 years with the IU, and Eric Bensel, Dr. Eric Bensel, is the now acting supervisor of online learning for IU12. So I came back tonight because he is still transitioning into his role and may not be able to answer all of your questions, so I agreed to come back and support you in this process tonight. So let me get a quick scope of the room. How many of you are elementary level, K through 5 students that you're interested here for? And how many of you are secondary? Okay, all right. So I know that, okay, that would be good. So how many of you have heard of Lincoln Edge before this evening? Okay, so we have been around actually since 2010 is when we started with the Lincoln Intermediate Unit. We originally began as Lincoln Virtual Academy, and we have been servicing York Suburban students since the onset of Lincoln Virtual Academy, which became Lincoln Edge a few years later when we rebranded it. But we've had students from all the surrounding districts in York County and Adams County and Franklin County as part of the Lincoln Intermediate Unit since that time. Last year, we actually served close to 1,000 students. Because of the pandemic, our population really grew. Prior to that, our number of students in our program was probably about 165 by the end of the school year. We usually start the school year small, around 50, but I understand we're already at 100 students this year. So that's usually a good sign that things are going to continue to grow. But it also means that our team can really intimately work with your students. So Lincoln Edge is not a cyber charter school. So let's go ahead here. We do serve all the students in York, Adams, Franklin County, which is part of the Lincoln Intermediate Unit. There is no cost to you as a parent. The district will pay for the tuition for your students to attend. And the one point I want to make here at the bottom is that we are not a cyber charter school. So if you've heard of Agora Cyber Charter or Commonwealth Connections, those are cyber charter schools, which means they are separate public school entities that have been approved by the Department of Education of the state of Pennsylvania to operate as a charter school. We are a cyber school that is a service provided by the Lincoln Intermediate Unit. So we work in partnership with your school district to provide an online education, and I'll talk about the different curriculum providers that we have available to do that. But our tuition is much lower, which is a cost savings to the district, and your students stay a student of York Suburban School District, which means you have access to all of the services, all of the activities, everything that the district has to offer is yours still. And if your student decides they want to go back to school in the middle of the year and they're not transitioning out of York Suburban or out of a charter school back to York Suburban, they're just moving from one place to another location within the district. Go ahead, Eric. Our staff right now, we have, of course, Dr. Bensel. We have Michelle Arnold, who has been with me almost since the beginning. She is an instructional support teacher. She and Anna McMonigal both have special education certifications, so they work with our students who have 504 plans or IEPs or any other kind of special education need, as well as they really are experts in how to modify and work with the curriculum providers to meet the individual needs of all of the students. So sometimes students still need supports, even though they've not been identified as having a medical need or having a learning support need or an emotional support need. They just need some nuances made to the curriculum. They're our experts on that. Lottie Smith is our school counselor. She came on last January, and she has been a real help to us because we always needed a counselor, but I never had the financial ability to hire one. So between the 3 staff members there, we have a really good productive team that will work directly with all of you, with your children, and provide the coordination between the curriculum providers and Lincoln Edge. Dawn Bodine is our secretary. She's been with us now for 4 years, and I understand we just hired the other secretary that we've been wanting to bring on board for the last year. So our department is well-staffed now and can serve students, and we're well-staffed to support up to 300 or 400 students at this point in time without any difficulty whatsoever. Okay. Our 2 main curriculum providers are Odysseyware and Edgenuity. Have any of you ever heard of those 2 providers? So Edgenuity is actually a parent company of Odysseyware. Edgenuity purchased Odysseyware about 2 years ago now, when it was on the market, and it actually made Edgenuity a better company because it provided a different type, or another type of courseware for them. Edgenuity also has an elementary level program that they contract through another provider called Accelerate Education. And Accelerate Ed is our provider for our kindergarten through 5th grade curriculum. Odysseyware also has some curriculum for 3rd through 5th grade levels, so that's an option that can be discussed with you as a parent if you have a child in that level. In addition to the main curriculum providers, we also have a driver's education course that we offer through the Capital Area Intermediate Unit. It's a program called Keys to Driving. It is basically the driver's education course that fits the Pennsylvania driver training module for the classroom portion. We do not offer the in-car training. If the district has that option available, that's something that you can coordinate with the district, or you can coordinate that private in-car driving with any provider that is available out there to do that. Many of our students need remedial support or skill development, so we have a service through a provider called iExcel, which will also support students at every grade level and will provide remediation and skill development. I like iExcel because it actually, if a student does a problem for math in there, it'll actually tell the student what they did wrong if they got the answer wrong. So it actually explains to them step by step what they forgot to do or how they got to their answer, and helps them figure out the correct pathway. It's been a great skill development for especially our special education students, but also our students preparing for the state assessments, the PSSA and the Keystone. We also, at the high school level, once a student has finished several of the online physical education courses, we have the ability to offer independent study physical education. So if a student is a member of a gym or part of an athletic program or other things, we can substitute your hours of independent study or dance even to count toward physical education credit. We also do the same thing for work experience. So if a high school student in their junior or senior year is working, we will coordinate a work experience with their employer so that they can earn credit for their work toward their credits for graduation. We use a program called Smart Futures to prepare students for their career. Now at every grade level, kindergarten through, 3rd through 12th grade, students must do a series of career readiness activities each school year. That program provides all of the activities that we need for our elementary, our middle, and our high school levels. So we will sign up your students for that if they are involved with our program. In addition, we do a social and emotional learning program through a program called Ripple Effects. Ripple Effects at the 3rd through 12th grade level has a large variety of topic areas. Everything from how to make friends to, at the high school level, it could go into more in-depth mental health, sexual orientation. It could go into social behaviors, bullying, drug addiction. It has a lot of different topics that students can choose from to learn about themselves and how they think about things. The great thing about the program is that it's peers teaching peers. So every video in there is another student at their age level talking about their experience, working through a problem, and getting to the end of it. And then there are a series of activities that go through the different areas of the brain that help a student develop the social and emotional learning. Statistically, that program meets a lot of the skill areas through a program called the Castle Principles, which defines nationally all the standards for social and emotional growth. And it is proven to improve academics, attendance, and just overall school attendance for us students. We also do an internet safety course through Edgenuity, as well as we have one through Nearpod for our elementary students, because every student is required to do something regarding internet safety course each school year related to learning how to be safe while they're surfing the internet and being on the internet. So this is a little more detail about Smart Futures. Our high school students can earn credit for completing the Smart Futures activities. If they complete the entire course, it's worth a half credit for our program. And that course, if it's finished as a 9th grader, is done then for the whole high school career. It basically covers all of the, what am I thinking of the word here? All the standards that are required for high school career readiness. Our school counselor will manage all of the academic portion of their enrollment with us and coordinate that with your school counselor here at York Suburban. So whether they're elementary, middle, or high school, we will do our best to mirror the exact courses that the students would have if they were a student here in the district. That also helps with transition. If the student does want to come back at the end of a marking period or a semester, to be able to transition the student effectively is important for us. We also want to, at the high school level, be able to meet the graduation requirements exactly as they are set up by the Suburban School Board and the school district. Our counselor will also be doing individual sessions with students. She's also planning this year to do some group counseling. She will also set up some extracurricular events and do some activities related to career readiness that might involve virtual tours or tours to different colleges and universities or technical schools, etc. She will also do, she's very skilled in the areas of SAT and those types of preparations for college assessments. She came from Red Lion School District and has a lot of experience working with students through those programs. If your district still requires a career project for graduation, we also have that project that we can do with students for that. Do you still require that as a graduation? Very good. Additional, our school counselor is building a web page, and she will have available different links in there for parents and students to receive help and to get in touch with our school counselor for support. She did a lot virtually this past year because of the pandemic, but I believe she plans to do more face-to-face appointments if possible. But she did a lot by phone and a lot by virtual meetings through Zoom this past school year. So in our curriculum providers, all of our parents will have a direct link to whatever their students are taking as far as coursework. Edgenuity, again, is our main course provider, along with Odyssey-ware. And then eDynamic Learning is subcontracted courseware through Edgenuity, and they provide a lot of electives. So one of the things I think we're richest with electives with our program is because we have access to all of these different vendors who provide curriculum resources, we have pretty much every pathway to different careers within our eDynamic Learning career pathways. Accelerate Ed has additional courses, as well as Corona Learning through Odyssey, where it has a lot of health, fitness, and career courses that are different than just your standard physical education course. So there are a lot of activities related to health and nutrition, as well as sports medicine and different types of physical education courses. So all of those will be reviewed in great detail if you would choose to become a student with Lincoln Edge. Our counselors or our teachers will go through whichever curriculum provider you choose to use with your student. So that's one of the beauties of our program is if a student really wants the independent learning of Odyssey-ware, where they can go in and open up their coursework and begin working without, and work with the instruction at the same time they're working on the lesson. They might need more support for math. So in math, they might enroll your student in the Edgenuity math course because Edgenuity's courses require the student to watch a video of instruction by a teacher on the lesson for the day before the student can actually access the coursework. So we have students at the high school level and some of the middle that work in both Edgenuity and Odyssey-ware because they need more support through instruction, but some of the high school students really like to be able to get right to the work and do the work and be done with it. Our e-dynamic learning courses are just richer. They're more dynamic, I should say. But they have a lot more activities and interaction, and they're really up to date with what is out there as far as career pathways. Anything you want to add there? One of the things I think that's a misconception about online learning is that there's no real teacher with a course. All of our teachers have certified Pennsylvania teachers. They might not be living in Pennsylvania because they're working for national companies, so they might be in Florida. We had one teacher who worked in Japan 2 years ago and taught our science courses. Her husband was over there working, and she worked remotely from Japan. She was an excellent addition to our program. But all of our courses have real teachers connected to them, so if there's a need to get in touch with a teacher, there are ways to do that built into the program. And this is just a bunch of the photos of many of the people who are now working. So this person here, Allison Medina Schweitzer, she's now the director of our Odyssey-ware Academy program. She was a teacher when this photo was taken a few years ago, but she's continued to work up through. So these are all great people, and we've had experience working with them for a very long time. Online courses will be easier, and that is a myth. We have found that our courses are a little more rigorous many times than what they would have if they were in the traditional high school. So online courses are required to carry a certain number of hours of work with each school day. So a lot of times there's more reading to do, there's more oral listening, and then there are assignments to do every day for every class. So if a student is taking 7 courses, they can pretty much plan on 7 45-minute periods a day that they're going to need to be working online. Once they get familiar with the flow of how the courses work, sometimes students can work through those pretty quickly and get done much faster. But in the beginning, it's going to be a hurdle if you've not taken online courses before, because every day there's going to be something new, and every day you're going to have to either watch a video and then do the lesson, or you're going to have to read text, watch some videos, and then do the lesson in the activities. So if you're in a course that's a semester long, you're going to have 90 days of 90 lessons and 90 activities that will be due. And they will pile up if you fall behind. So I do know that some students try not to keep up. They try to take a day off here and there. And if they do, then they're probably going to be working on the weekend. So one of the flexible things that we have in Lincoln Edge is our attendance week is Monday to Sunday. So we don't require students to be online Monday at 8 a.m. And working all day until the evening. If a student wants to sleep in the morning and get up at 10 and work until evening on their courses, or take the day off in the middle of the week and work on a Saturday or a Sunday to complete the work, that's okay with us as long as the work is done when we take the attendance on Monday morning. So our school week attendance is Monday to Sunday. We require the activities to be completed that were assigned for the week. So it doesn't matter when you as a parent or as a student want to complete the activities, as long as they're completed. That created a lot of flexibility for families last school year. You had elementary students especially who were working, the parents were working all day and couldn't be home with the students to complete the activities. So they would work with their students in the evenings and on the weekends to complete the activities that they needed support with. So the parents were grateful for that flexibility of time, because some of the charter schools required them to be on at 8 in the morning and be on until 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And there was no flexibility. It was so rigid that they couldn't do it. Even some of the district programs required the teacher to be on at a certain time. The student had to be present in that Zoom meeting, or they didn't get credit for the day. In our program, the activities are there, and you can log into them and complete them. And if you want to take a break then, for 10 to 15 minutes and then come back in, you can do that. There's a lot of flexibility in how it's done, as long as the work is completed by the end of the week. I can take as long as I want to finish a course. So our courses are what are called asynchronous courses, which means that you can work at your own pace, like I described. So you can also work ahead in the courses. So if you really like a subject, you can keep going in the subject as long as you complete the other work in your other courses as well. So we have some students who really like math, and they just fly through their math lessons. And sometimes when they're done with everything else, they go back in and work on more math. So once that course is done, it's done. So if you finish it in December and it wasn't supposed to end until January, then you're ahead of the game, because we can start you in the next course, or we can give you a little bit more of a break before the new semester starts in January. So there's a lot of flexibility with our program. Our courses are just like reading a textbook online. No, the courses are a blend. Our Odyssey Work courses will have some text, then they'll have a gaming section, then they will have a short video. In Odyssey Work, none of the videos are longer than 3 minutes. They believe that a student's attendance span is no more than 3 minutes. So they base their curriculum on social media. So a student, when you're flipping through a Facebook page, you know you're just kind of flipping down through. You're not really spending a lot of time on anything because you want to move on to the next thing. Students are very similar in that regard. Their focus of attention won't stay there much longer than about 3 to 5 minutes. So they keep that short. In Edgenuity, some of the curriculum, virtual teacher instructions will be as long as 10 minutes, but they're not any longer than that. So just a different way to present the courses.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Does that mean that all materials are online, there's not additional?
All the materials are online, except for the elementary program. There are some activities that require some household things that have to be used. And we will also be sending workbooks to go along with the 4 major subjects for the elementary level. So, and those activities are also available online. But we believe that students at the elementary level also need some tactile things and some activities that they can work on off the computer. So even though they're available in PDF and can be completed that way, it's really better if they're offline for part of their school day. So the kindergarten through 5th grade program is only about 60% online, and the other 40% is intended to be offline work, so worksheets and activities that they would do with household items that are at home. I think I talked about this a little bit. Our attendance policy is, we follow the requirements for Pennsylvania. Your district has requirements for attendance, and we're going to be reporting the attendance on a weekly basis to the district. So we measure in 3 different ways. So both of our program providers will measure the amount of progress a student's made in a course. So at the elementary level, I'm thinking it's 3.75% forward progress. At the secondary level, it's 4.5% forward progress. So on a 7-day week, Monday to Sunday, if you stay on pace with your classes, meaning you complete everything by its due date, you will not be behind in your course and you will meet the percent of forward progress. If you don't meet either of these 2, then we look at how much time you've spent actively working online on the computer, so actively completing the activities that are assigned to you. Some students are slower learners than others, so that's okay. We just need to be able to evaluate how much longer it might take that student to complete a course, but that doesn't mean they didn't attend for the week. It just means that we might have to look at how their courses are set up and maybe restructure them a little bit to help them learn better and to manage the online courses better. So for our student activity time, the weekly time required is 750 minutes a week minimum for a student to be in attendance 100% of the week. So, what's that?
High school. elementaries.
That is high school, yes. Yeah, the elementary.
Elementaries is smaller and lower. because
380 minutes a week, I think, is
Because
the
40%
elementary
of
level
it's
because
working.
of the 40% offline time doing the hands-on activities.
Hours did you say you were?
Elementary, 380 minutes,
Oh, it's not like that.
750. So this is just an extension of what we talked about. So Monday morning at midnight, 12 to 1 a.m. through Sunday at midnight, that's your week of attendance with Lincoln Edge. If we start to see you falling behind, as soon as you reach 6 absences, we're going to be meeting with you to complete what's called a LEAP, a Lincoln Edge attendance plan. So that plan is going to be developed with you, your student, to help you to get back on track with attendance and to improve your activity work, your pacing, your course completion. That will be done usually in concert with a member of the home district if there's someone available. Otherwise, we're going to manage that and we're going to provide that information back to the school district so that they understand that if there were attendance issues, we're managing them, we're taking care of them to support the district in helping you complete not only your education, but the schoolwork and the things that are involved and help them stay in compliance with attendance standards for Pennsylvania. So here's just some tips that we've learned along the way. So a lot of students like to jump into the courses without completing the orientation. So the orientation teaches the student how all the courses work and how they function and how to contact the teacher, how to turn in an assignment, all those things. So if you skip that part of the course, then you're going to be lost, and then we start to see attendance issues happen. So we always encourage, especially in Odyssey where there is a separate course called orientation in Odyssey where we like that to be done first before you go into any of your regular courses. It takes about 2 to 3 hours to complete it, and it's really a helpful place or a course to complete. In the Edgenuity and Accelerated Ed program, the orientation course is built into the syllabus of the course with the teacher instruction about how the course works. That's really important for the student to go through, and for a parent at the elementary level. There's all kinds of resources there called the Learning Coach resources for you to go through just to learn how to deliver the curriculum better for your students at the elementary level. There are due dates assigned to all of the activities in the grade book. This is for the 6th through 12th grade level courses. So those need to be completed. The activities should be completed when they're due in order for you to stay on pace. At the elementary level, I don't believe there's due dates for all of the assignments, but I believe that there are activities that will show up each day for you to complete for that day. And it's really important that you stay on pace with what is assigned each day in the coursework. There are multiple ways to reach out to the teachers for support that are assigned. So at our elementary level, you should have one teacher for all of the courses, and that teacher is supposed to stay assigned to your student all the whole school year. So that last year, there were some changes that occurred mid-year because they had so many students come into online that they had to switch teachers and hire teachers, and they tried to shift and manage the number of students assigned to teachers. But we've been given a commitment from Edgenuity and Odyssey where the number of the teachers would remain the same, with very rare circumstances where that would change. The teachers are all available by phone, by email. There's virtual office appointments that you can schedule and assign. You can also reach out to them and schedule separate appointments for them. Each of the providers also has a hotline that you can call anytime. You may not get the teacher assigned to the course, but you'll have access to a teacher who can support you in completing whatever activity that you're struggling with in the course. Quizzes and tests. So they always, because it's an asynchronous course, which means as a student completes one assignment and they meet the pass threshold, the next assignment automatically comes available. So quizzes, when you complete the study guide before it, once that's done and turned in, that quiz is going to be available for the student to open. It's called Assign. If a student clicks on that quiz, they have to take it. If they turn it in and submit it, or they clock out of it, it will be graded automatically. So We always say to students and parents, make sure your student studies for the quiz before they open it and they're prepared to take it, because once the quiz is open, it's going to be graded, so they have to be able to take it and pass it. A passing score for a quiz is 65%. Sometimes they don't reach that score, so it will automatically be reassigned for a second take. Again, sometimes students, they just open it right up and they didn't take the time to study. It's really important that they study for it before they take it. There are also projects that might be assigned in courses, so be sure to complete those as well. If you use notes, take good notes. The notes are available to you at home to use for your quiz or your test, so you should take advantage of the fact that you have the opportunity to use those supports. I will tell you that once you open the quiz or a test, if you go to any other website link, that test will close and be graded automatically because it's considered cheating. Okay? And we'll only get that open back up again if you come through one of our team members, because we're going to have to go to bat for you with the Edgenuity teachers to say there was a circumstance that caused that situation to happen. So it's going to have to be a pretty legitimate circumstance for us to bypass the teachers' guidelines on that. There are a lot of lesson tools and features in the curriculum. So there are note-taking tools, there are highlighters, there are underliners for reading, there are read-aloud components that can be read in 25 different languages if you need it to be. So if you're a person coming from a foreign country and you need to hear it in your native language, you can hear it in the native language and see the writing in the native language if you need it to be. It can all be translated for you in both providers. Testing quizzes aren't timed, so sometimes in school you have a timed quiz or test. So if you need a little longer to take a quiz, as long as you keep the page active and you're answering questions, and keeping it active means you're clicking on the page to either answer a question or to keep it alive, that will stay open for you to finish. One thing students have done is they've not plugged in their computer before they take their quiz or test. Computer has died in the middle of the test. That's happened. So we've had to make some concessions for those types of things. So please keep it plugged in. One thing I didn't say was with Lincoln Edge, you're going to get a Chromebook and an internet device with each of your students that you enroll. That'll be yours for the entire school year to use, and it'll be connected to our tech support team with the Lincoln Intermediate Unit. So if there's ever any issues with it, one of the things great about us is we're a local office right here in York. With the York Learning Center, so if there's an issue, we can do a pretty quick exchange of a device if there's a problem with that. Okay? We suggest Chrome because we have Chromebooks that we're issuing, but Firefox is also a good one. So sometimes there's a course that can't be taken on a Chromebook, so you need a laptop at home. So if you have a desktop or a laptop at home and you want to use something other than your Chromebook, and you can use Firefox or Chrome on your home computer to access a course. But we also have students who do it on their cell phones. I don't know how a student does it on their cell phone, but they can do pretty much anything now. And I've actually, at home in the evening, I've helped a student get reset for a course or something on my cell phone while I'm watching TV or something. So it's pretty easy to do, but it's a lot of very tiny reading we can do it there. Most of the curriculum providers will have a logout. So it's 25 minutes in OdysseyWare and 20 minutes in Edgenuity. So if you sit and you walk away from your computer and you're in the middle of a test and you get up and walk away and you don't get back in time, it's going to close it and it's going to grade it. Or the screen, if you're typing in a text box because you're doing a project or a small essay and you don't keep that page active by mouse clicking on it, it will time you out. Now, it will come up with a quick message to say, are you sure you want to time out, you want to stay logged in? But what I found is that oftentimes it shuts down before you get to say, okay, I want to stay logged in. So we always encourage students, if they're working on an essay, to do it in Google so that it's saved in real time, and then they can copy and paste it into the text box or upload it as an attachment to the curriculum. Because typing in the text box alone won't keep that page active. Typing is not considered an active page. Not sure quite why, because you're still doing something on the screen, but it's just not. What else is here? And I think I mentioned this, you can't have more than one window of a course open at the same time. That's because they're trying to prevent cheating and plagiarism. I will mention about plagiarism now. We've had students turn in whole answers and whole essays that they went out on the internet and found and copied and pasted in. Sometimes they've rephrased them, tried to rework them. It's still considered plagiarism. So, and they have teachers will take that whole essay and copy it into a site, and it'll tell them exactly where it came from. We've had parents and students deny that their child did that. Well, the proof's pretty much here in the pudding. So, we'll address it. We'll give the student another opportunity to do the assignment, usually on the first offense. But it is caught. So it might go on for a little while, but it is caught eventually. It usually happens in multiple courses when it happens in one. This is just some of the different ways you can access a teacher. In Ingenuity, it's called on-demand coaching. In Odyssey, where it's called live chat tutoring. And then if there's any other ways within the curriculum, there's a help button, as well as the other ways to contact the teacher. So this is an example of in the grade book, at the beginning of each of the grade book areas, there is the teacher information. So this is actually her active link for going into a virtual meeting, and this is a place where you can click and schedule a meeting or a phone call with the teacher. So right from the grade book access for the parent or the student, you can schedule a meeting. You can email them, contact them, however you need to contact them. There's also, when you log into your main page, there's an area here that's called external links in Odysseyware, and in Odysseyware, that's where the parent can also access all of the orientation courses. The student can go back and revisit those orientation courses if they need to read them or do them again. I'm going to go into a demo, but I think I've talked too much and we're probably at 5 right? So are there questions that you'd like to ask us?
So you mentioned that so they can get done earlier than when the end of the semester is. And
Yes.
that's okay. Can they start before the beginning of the semester?
Yes. We've had students finish in November, early December sometimes, depending on the parent and the support. And then we can move them right into the next course, which is usually a part A and a part B of a course. So one is semester A, one is semester B for the whole school year. So yes, and if they finish early, even in the spring then, they can either be done because they've completed the curriculum for the year, or we can add additional courses to them or move them on to the next level. Well, usually if we have a student at an elementary level that gets ahead, we'll do a refresher course at the end. Through Odysseyware offers a course called Spark, which is a complete overview of the curriculum to make sure that they've learned all the concepts well enough to go on to the next grade. There are also other elective courses that could be taken at the elementary level as well.
Or
They
can
don't
they
have
just
to.
be done early?
They can just be done early.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you required to take certain electives, or is there, is that like worked out by individual?
We usually require health and phys ed with the 4 courses, 4 core classes for the elementary level, and then there are art and music and other types of electives that are available at the elementary level that are optional. We found last year that 5 to 6 courses for an elementary student was a large lift, especially in the fall semester, because the parents were learning the curriculum as well as the students. So in the beginning, I would say I would probably stick to the 4 core classes plus just one of the electives for an elementary student. That would be my recommendation.
I was looking through the K-5 Ingenuity, and the good news is you still get to experience the recorder. you're an elementary parent and had the pleasure of having your child play the recorder in your house, they still have that. The recorder is still there, alive and well for the music portion of elementary.
I've got 27 years of recorders in my house.
It's a rite of passage for elementary kids.
So are there other questions? Yes.
I may have missed it, but can these online students participate in clubs at the high school?
Absolutely, and that's that unique partnership that keeping each school will keep all these students informed of all the activities. So it can be extracurricular, it can be co-curricular, dances, clubs, anything they want to be a part of. If they finish early, that doesn't excuse them for continuing the rest of the year to be as involved as they can or choose to be. So yeah, that's the special partnership that's happening that allows us to do both.
Now, it's always been my understanding with other districts that the parent's still responsible for the transportation of all of those activities and clubs and things like that. Is that the case here as well?
Correct.
Okay.
It'd be the same for students that were involved, in the brick and mortar sense.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. Any other questions? Yes.
Probably rather complex. After a year and a half of fighting with lawyers and everything else, we finally got an IEP in place with Suburban that they finally agreed to provide the one-on-one assistance as required by the state. They put it in place approximately 3 days before COVID started. Like literally, we were informed that the school district was acquiescing 3 days before COVID. Will the IEP as it stands, will Lincoln Edge work with the IEP as it stands or work to modify for one-on-one support?
The IEPs do have to be modified to meet the online curriculum. So a lot of times they don't stand exactly as they are because the goals will need to be rewritten according to the online curriculum. So as far as the one-to-one, I don't know about that because I don't really know the intimate needs of your child, but they would all be discussed and we would determine whether or not that would all be even necessary with being an online provider with the child working from home.
Suburban actually did provide last year
Okay.
a couple hours a week with Gene and a couple of the other.
Well, Mrs. Arnold, Michelle Arnold, or Anna McMonigal.
And I'll add to that too.
They will work with the special ed coordinator here and the principal or whoever's involved to make sure that those needs are met if you choose to have your child enter Lincoln Edge.
Correct. That was one of the first things that we ensured to make sure that there's an immediate meeting of the team. The IEP comes together as a team and make those decisions.
Because those revisions have to be made within the first 10 days of the program. And we really can't place a student effectively into the courses until we know what the needs are, and that's all been set up this year as well. So we'll be able to implement that.
And the additional flexibility of the course structuring and course options provide that team to come together and make those unique decisions.
Thank you.
That's very
You
much.
had a question?
So, I'm not sure who to direct this to, but if we were to choose to go this route with our child, how much notice do you need in order to enroll our student?
Okay. We have an online application. It's available
Okay.
on the Lincoln Intermediate Unit website under Lincoln Edge. Once we receive that application, it links up to a direct message to their page for our site. They can approve it. Once it's approved, then we'll schedule a time to meet with you, go over the curriculum, and choose the courses.
Okay, so with that being said, then, I think we had gotten an email saying we had to let the building principal know if we were going, which order do we?
And I'll say this, and as Alan kind of said at the beginning, we've been working together primarily at the high school level for quite some time. It's pretty quick, it's pretty seamless. So, the website linked directly on the LIU page, we also have it linked on our page. So as soon as that initiation starts, it can be very quick. And the reverse can happen too, as Alan had mentioned at the very beginning. If at the end of a market period or transition, and I know he stressed that transition point, so we're going to want to work with them to make sure it's a transition time that's appropriate for you and the student as well. So, no, this is a decision that you've got to process, and as you think, that's what this meeting was all about. So you got that chance to kind of think it through, and then you can have conversations with us, the building principal, Dr. Kevin, or myself.
Ideally, the transitions are best at the end of a semester because the coursework is laid out in a semester format. That's why it's so critical, though, that a student stays on pace with the due dates, because if they are on pace, then the transition at a marking period or at any point in the semester is much more doable than if they fall behind pace and they're not ready to transition at the semester break, because then we have to create that transition and make sure that we get the gaps filled in.
Sure.
Make it back.
And coursing in the general sense, the curriculum and the course is similar to a regular student where we're kind of all pacing the same year. That's why the semester break tends to go a little fast.
Yes.
So you mentioned that Suburban approves it. What specifically are they approving?
Basically, they're approving the enrollment because the district is going to pay the intermediate unit for the program. So, for the service that we're providing. So just like they're going to pay our tuition. So they're approving them to enroll into Lincoln Edge and to be using our curriculum resource as the program for this school year.
So we're not currently Suburban students who go to private school, but we're considering this now.
So you would need to enroll them. You would need to enroll them in Suburban, so that when they have received your application for Lincoln Edge, that they would know that you're a Suburban student. So I would think you would coordinate that with the district principal.
Correct, and that last statement was you're a York Suburban student, and that's what makes this special. If you were attending an Agora or another, you actually unenroll from Suburban and enroll in that school. That's why the approval process comes to us. You're enrolled as a Suburban student. We keep those connections alive. We keep our communications with you at the building level for things that we involve when, but we funneling the curriculum and the education with here with our partnership with Lincoln Edge.
So if you're in a
So you
private
have to
situation now,
enroll in your Suburban.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
because we're kind of another building now that's part of Suburban.
We've kind of broadened our scope. And really what that means at a private school, if you're going to come to Suburban, you still have to enroll with us. It's not an extra step along the way. During that enrollment process, you say, I'm enrolling, but I would like to attend Lincoln Edge.
Correct. Yes.
I didn't quite hear the answer, maybe it was overlooked there. So I'm gonna re-ask what she asked there a couple minutes ago. The last notice we got was we were supposed to notify the principal of that building of intentions. Now you're saying there's an application, we gotta fill that out. But the answer I never heard was, what's the deadline? When do we gotta make that decision? What date?
We should probably, I mean, we can enroll a student at any point, and that's probably why I didn't answer directly, was because we have rolling enrollment. So we have students that come in and out of Lincoln Edge all school year. So, but to meet the school year and to start, you're starting August 23rd or 4th. I forget the start date because I'm not connected to it right now, but we should probably have your application by the beginning of August so that we can make sure that we get you enrolled to start the school year on time.
And when you do the application and you do the whole enrollment process, is that when you're gonna sit down and look at the IEPs and you're gonna sit down with the parents and go over that, or how's that work?
So once the application is completed, that lets us know that you're a student who's interested in coming to us, and Suburban approves it, and then we will schedule an appointment to meet with you as the parent and the student. They'll orient you to the Chromebook, you'll choose the curriculum that you want to use. If there's an IEP, that'll already have been provided to us before we meet with you, so that'll be going over as well. So if you're a student with a 504 plan or an IEP, either Mrs. McMonigal or Mrs. Arnold is going to meet with you because they're going to work through the IEP with you at that point in that meeting to make any modifications and revisions that need to be done to that IEP. If there's a special circumstance like your situation, then we might also invite the director of special ed from Suburban to be a part of that meeting, or our representatives, so that we make sure that we keep the fidelity of that IEP in place, especially with that additional piece there.
And I'll add a little clarity to that to make sure I'm addressing the question to both ends. For families that were involved in TOP, and maybe if that's the transfer that we're talking about, the TOP program as it sat previously will no longer be in existence. So those students that were enrolled in TOP are just going to be enrolled in Suburban moving forward to next year. So if you're choosing to say that, that worked really well for my student, and we want to maintain an online presence and participate in inside our program, we're offering this as the option. That would be the enrollment process. And to that point, we would encourage you to get that enrollment before the start of the year to begin with a smooth transition. If you want to begin the year coming to in-person learning and make that transition out, that's a rolling admission. That can happen at any time as well. And those same things would happen each time.
Our goal is 3 to 5 days from the date we receive the approval from the district to have your child a meeting scheduled and to be enrolled. So,
And our approval process at the district level is usually at 24 hours to 48 hours at most. As soon as the application comes in, we're processing it immediately. Yeah, so the whole thing from meeting, intro, and planning, at best 3 to 5 days.
Our part's fairly straightforward, 5-10 minutes, name, ID, ELL, it's just basic things and then submit it. We get it, and then we go to the school district to get all the paperwork, so you don't have, it's not like re-enrolling, when you enroll your kids, like, oh, it goes 4 hours of my life. No, we work with the school district behind the scenes to pull all that information over electronically, so we have it. So it's hopefully as seamless as it can be for you guys. Just apply, hit, they get it, we get it, we work together, and then we schedule you. And then we get you in there. And, York Williams Center is Central Zone High School. So if you go to this area, it's in North York. That's where we're located. So it's obviously very convenient for Suburban.
yes.
Now, I know at the tops last year, the whole new concept, learning thing for everybody, especially for kids. So they kind of graduate, slowly into it. Is it going to be similar with that here, or is this going to be bam right into a lot of assignments?
The courses will probably all be scheduled to start right on the same day or within a week of one another. If you have a specific need like that, like to have a gradual,
No, I'm just curious.
we can set that up. Like you could start for the core classes right away the first week, get acclimated, and then the electives could start a week later. I mean, we can do that with you because we have the flexibility to do that. Because our teachers are not assigned to 30 other students, so they're going to be assigned to yours.
I think rephrasing, basically, the initial coursework is, okay, building skills, then, familiarity, software, I write software for.
We have an orientation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That orientation
There's a
course is really exactly what you're saying. It's that transition piece in a much more structured format. It's delivered in a way that's tied directly to that course, directly to those resources, and that's what that orientation class will do.
And unlike TOPS, this probably is, okay, it's a functional piece from start to finish instead of every 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Courses will have a similar
Correct, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
And that's to your point, at your pacing, you can finish it in November and kind of adjust that sequence that you as a family need. So that's that flexibility piece that gives you as a family to make those decisions how you want to pace it.
So the biggest adjustment usually is if the student's taking a course in Edgenuity, Odysseyware, and Dynamic Learning. The courses all might function a little bit differently, so until you get used to the way that each one works different, that can be a hurdle in the beginning, but once you learn it, it's the same every time you take that kind of class. So once you get it down, it won't be an issue to carry it forward. And if you struggle, just contact the team. Well,
Struggling is calls.
Intermediate days is
Right.
Google Docs.
Right.
Since you're running on Chromebooks.
right. I know. Yes.
Within curriculum, you had 2 different things. Do we have to decide which one the kids are going in, or are we going to look at past records of their schooling and stuff and decide that?
We'll probably have a conversation with you and your students about how they learn best. Because that might be a decision factor between whether they take a course in Edgenuity versus they take a course in Odyssey, where they might need more instruction, or they might really do well with math and they don't need all the instruction, they just need to go at it. So those are decisions that you as a parent can tell us, probably, are they hands-on learners, or are they,
Okay.
different?
So we'll be posting all this information and that demo link that you saw on our top Lincoln Edge website. All of us are open for questions. It's often when you're driving home and it hits you up, feel free to reach out to Dr. Kevin or myself or any of these 2 gentlemen. I know we could address those questions, or give us a call and we can kind of walk through it as we need.
You can't contact Alan. he's
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
So,
Don't let the, that's what we keep
He
saying,
was
that's
going
the
in.
tan, is that we know he's been out enjoying it.
if you go on LIU website, hit Edge, you'll see my name, click, if you can email me any questions, I promise to get back in touch with you in 24 hours. Might not have an answer, but I'll get back in touch with you in 24 hours.
Thank you so much for coming this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're here, if you have any other questions.